Last time we left off, the Saiyans were heading towards Earth thanks to SCP-2399, and the SCP Foundation only knows thanks to SCP-2399. What exactly is this sentient computer trying to accomplish, and who or what is it? Next video will be released in a week. Enjoy. A short time to prepare. The SCP Foundation will try to defend the Earth at any cost from this XK end of the world scenario. A pitched battle awaited them from this outer-worldly incursion. They had various tools at their disposal, but still, even a containment breach of one of their sites could prove too much of a strain on their resources and lead to the vast eradication of Earth's population. Item number SCP-9001. Object Class Thaumiel. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-9001 is under no circumstances allowed into either light or heavy containment. He is to be kept monitored at all times and administered various field assignments. His interactions with any SCPs is to be always strictly monitored, or better, to be avoided completely. Due to his heightened need for contest of prowess, he is to be allowed no more than 4 monthly missions or field assignments pertaining to his level, and at no point should it ever push his emotional state further. He is considered docile and is allowed free roam of sight apart from the aforementioned light and heavy containment. Due to this consistent and growing need to seek powerful entities, his designation of Object Class Thaumiel should constantly be questioned. Description: SCP-9001 is a humanoid alien standing at 175 centimeters or 5 feet 9 inches. His appearance is that of an average human of ethnicity. His strength, constitution, endurance, and all physical capabilities are leagues beyond what normal human is capable of. His abnormal strength seems to be supplied by something that the being labels as Ki, a life energy that all living beings possess. Further research on Ki should be conducted. From this Ki, he is able to produce pure energy and is able to expel it in forms of beams. He is also able to expel it from his body, giving him the ability of flight. These beams of energy are capable of destroying a mountain, evaporating a lake, or wiping out a city off the map. Further testing into these beams should be highly monitored, or better yet, avoided due to the risk of harm to the planet. His Ki is further utilized in a way that further boosts all of his attributes and manifests itself into pure energy. It alters his appearance. As stated previously, he is never to be pushed into a heavy emotional state in fear of activating. His previous fight with SCP-682 has proven to be a sign that he could be a great asset if he could control his unending craving for battle with strong opponents due to his evolving anomalous properties. And after cross-testing, assignments, and missions undergone by MTF Omega-7, SCP-9001 should be separated from other SCPs unless heavily supervised. The former director that fought for the utility of SCP-9001 put the file down and handed it over to his colleague. In such a short time, he had gone through such an ordeal of world-shattering events, and everything seemed to fall onto his hands. His torture at the hands of SCP-106 had been exhausting on his psyche. Even though physically he was fine, the lingering trauma had been almost unbearable. The thought of unleashing him again, if the regular means at containing the Saiyans failed, filled him with dread. They had no idea how powerful they were, but if they based them off of what Goku could do, and if their invasion would later lure the evil space tyrant Frieza, well, that would be world-ending. The SCP Foundation were most concerned with their genealogy. Their inherent genetic makeup was troubling. These Saiyans were capable of evolving beyond comprehension. Each battle that they were in was as if their body was adapting to it to try to match their opponent's output. It was almost as if the director had a miniature SCP-682 in his hands, but one that was much more reasonable than the hard-to-destroy reptile. No wonder SCP-9001 was able to recontain the lizard before it could adapt Opposite the weary director sat his energetic niece. She was tinkering away at the old equipment that arrived with the initial landing of SCP-9001 over 19 years ago. His niece had been born with a much higher potential than he could ever have. Although he wasn't in her life very much, he still loved her deeply. Yet he did not know why she chose to follow in his footsteps and forsake her future for something he did not deem for her. He had pleaded with her to reconsider, but being the genius that she was, she simply debated her way out of any argument, and her accolades and early acquisition of her doctorate had been a child's game to her, which impressed his superiors enough to add her to the SCP Foundation. She was an intellectual that surpassed him even at her young age of 20, but perhaps her best quality was her optimism and pride, something which evaded him. Boma pulled out an earpiece with a green panel in front of it. She had salvaged it from the original pod that Goku arrived in. The technology was beyond the current planet's capabilities. She placed it near her ear, and it turned on. Before, it had displayed a language unknown to the SCP Foundation, but through Boma's meddling, she was able to decipher and translate it to a language she could understand. Boma looked at her uncle and sized him up. She scanned him and got back a reading of 4. The average human was a 5. Boma tried to scan beyond the room, but thanks to the SCP's anti-key detection technology, she wasn't able to detect anything beyond this room. The tech was pretty useful. It could detect key signatures or the very essence of a being. The numbers indicated how powerful a being was. They had integrated the tech in their own surveilling systems, and if by some cruel joke the red alarms came alive and warned of a high possibility of landings within the next hour somewhere on Earth. Vegeta had been patient for long enough. He and his companion would soon reach Earth and seek their rightful place in the universe. He had previously been in contact with SCP-2399, and the sentient monstrosity of a robot had continuously warned them of the SCP Foundation, though none of this worried the prince, for he was the legendary Super Saiyan. Various hypersonic missiles peppered their transportations, an annoyance at best, thinks Vegeta. Their pods were meant to withstand coming into collision with asteroids and other space debris, but still, the audacity. They are continuously attacked as they pass SCP-179, pointing directly at them with a solemn look on her face. This interaction sends a chill down Vegeta's spine, as if to foreshadow what would happen as they break through Earth's atmosphere and land in a barren wasteland. The personnel monitoring the landing cheer as they successfully prevent the Saiyans from landing at one of their sites through the use of their hypersonic missiles. A small victory, but it was important to maintain morale as they were still in grave danger. But as they prepared their next phase of the plan, that's when they felt heat radiating, accompanied by a gust of wind. They never saw what made the hole through the door. Multiple scanners blinked, beeped, and oscillated all at once. In all of its confusion, one thing was very clear. Goku had broken containment and was headed directly towards the invading aliens. It had been years since Goku has had a fight. Well, a proper one at least. They had given him tests, but a lot of them were very, very mundane for the Saiyan warrior. He didn't know all the details of the new anomalous entities invading his homeland, nor the plan to combat them. All he knew was that they were going to weaken them first, and him and his team were saved as reservists in case the plan went awry. But this did not sit well with SCP-9001. He had to see if they could prove a challenge for him. It's all he ever lived for. Vegeta and Nappa's scouters picked up a strong key signature, heading straight towards them, and without hesitation flew to meet the newcomer. The director pleaded with 9001 to return to follow orders, but Goku didn't respond back. The director reminded him of his child, Gohan, But sensing their key signatures quickly approaching him, he destroyed his earpiece and quickly met up with Nappa and Vegeta. The director was the main source of support for Goku's Thaumiel designation, a class for SCPs who could work alongside the Foundation against other anomalous objects and entities. Goku had already proven to be difficult to work with, and now they were heavily considering a new addition to Keter class and prepared for the worst if SCP-9001 could prove completely uncooperative. The Saiyans began talking. Nappa with his cluelessness and Vegeta with his untethered ego. They threatened Goku, or going by his Saiyan name, Kakarot. They blame him for the lack of extermination of the population. Billions of key signatures were still present, yet they offered him a position under a team designed control over the theory of Frieza. They mentioned a brother that Goku did not know of nor care of. Goku's white gi reflected the sun's rays brightly, with only the speck of contrast being from the SCP insignia etched onto his chest. He ordered the Saiyans that they were now under the protection of the SCP Foundation and that they would need to come with him. The SCP Foundation had something that belonged to Vegeta. He orders Kakarot to stand down and show him where the SCP Foundation is hidden. Goku refuses, and Vegeta calls him a slave, yet he would have to make him obey the prince. A side-eye escaped from Nappa, as his prince's hypocrisy was obvious. Vegeta gave the sign, and within half a heartbeat, Nappa blitzed Goku and drop-kicked him. Lasting only a few seconds, a fury of blows were exchanged, along with coordinated dodges, parries, kicks, punches, grabs, tackles, and everything. Such a showcase of power, speed, and skill could only be demonstrated by a warrior race like the Saiyan. Vegeta crossed his arms and laughed maniacally. It was clear from the onset of the battle that Kakarot was nowhere near Nappa's power. From his scouter, he could pick up small, visible, and invisible drone recording the battle. They could watch. He didn't care. He was coming for them next. Here, he was getting absolutely manhandled by this beast of a person, and Goku loved it. His excitement for battle was visible on his face. He loved that they rejected his plea for them to flee. The SCP Foundation waited with bated breath until they could unleash their full plans as Goku and Nappa continued fighting. He felt it once again, that power that seemed difficult to manifest, swelling from his back and spreading throughout him, that power that overwhelmed SCP-682. And again, he tapped into SCP-9001 erupts into a golden aura of pure, unadulterated energy. At this point, Vegeta loses his mind and stares at all at what he sees. Could it be? He thinks to himself. The legendary Super Saiyan? Impossible. It could only be him. And as that concludes, so does the fight. Nappa is sent hurtling towards the prince at such a speed that all he could do was guard himself from the impact. Unbeknownst to the Saiyans and even the SCP Foundation, SCP-2399 had snuck itself onto the pods of the Saiyans and was waiting and watching as the fight dragged on through one of its autonomous drones. He had witnessed the power before. Of course, he was once attached to SCP-9001. He knew that once this form was unleashed, there was no way that the Saiyan duo could stand a chance. Maybe if they worked together, but that seemed as far-fetched as destroying SCP-106. But Jupiter's big red spot wasn't a fool, and it came prepared. He had developed a nanomachine, another part of himself, to suppress something that he labeled as cells, something found only within Saiyans. He was sure that the SCP Foundation had already uncovered this, and was likely one of their plans to attack the Saiyans, with thanks to the blood and other tests performed on SCP-9001. SCP-2399 released the nanomachine. Goku proceeded to inhale them, and he very quickly lost his strength and power, making him lose his Super Saiyan status. Vegeta's delusions came back to him. It was just a fluke. No low-class warrior could possibly become the legendary Super Saiyan. Only him. Vegeta gave Kakarot one final chance to help him take over this world and take back his Saiyan pride and eradicate all who made him do their dirty work. In this world, and at this moment, Goku considered his proposal. His time as an SCP lapdog wasn't exactly the most rewarding. He was promised battles, yet they were not delivered. But he couldn't do what Vegeta asked of him. His son and the earth filled with innocent lives were all still at risk. He couldn't stoop that low. He rejected the prince's offer. By the end of what was considered a battle, only one Saiyan stood victorious, and it was never in doubt that it was indeed the prince. Vegeta had tore right through his chest, leaving a gnarly hole where his SCP insignia once was proudly displayed. He felt his consciousness slip and he fell into darkness. Vegeta felt both pride and disappointment. Was that all Kakarot could do? His strength came and went quickly. Was that really the extent of a Saiyan? As if on cue, Vegeta catches from the corner of his eye a red disc hurtling his way. He was expecting a retaliation from the organization that Kakarot was working for, but such a primitive way of attacking. He raised his hand and blasted the disc, but the disc simply kept coming. Vegeta was not aware of what the disc was capable of, but he did not want to find out. He quickly flew out of the way, but the disc was persistent, and it seemed to be picking up speed. He flew quicker, but the disc matched his speed and even surpassed it. It seemed to have a mind of its own, but he picked up no key signature from it. Enough of this, he thought to himself. He decided he would simply just destroy it. He gained distance from the disc and fired. His Gallic gun. This did absolutely nothing, as the disc simply gained more momentum as it finally slammed into the prince. The disc went from red to purple in color as it fell from its impact. The disc stuck to his scouter and sucked him through the glass into a world of unknown. Like I said, next video will be released in a week. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe. You won't regret it.